Hey everyone, welcome back to Thrive Together, Together's very first podcast. I'm Megan Darrow, Executive Director of Together and your host. And my pronouns are she and her. We have some super special guests today and a great topic. We're going to talk about Host Homes tonight. Host Homes is a new program for Together and the coolest strategy that I have seen for housing unaccompanied youth. Y'all, if you've been following along and listening, you've heard about Host Homes. And today we're going to talk to our very first host family. So I'm super excited. But first, I'm going to introduce my co-host or have her introduce herself. Tammy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tammy Lathrop. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the director of the Host Homes program at Together. And yes, I'm really excited. We recruited and convinced our first host family to join us today. I think it's a great opportunity for listeners to hear firsthand what it's like to host youth. And just as a reminder, our Host Homes program, if you're new to listening, is a short-term housing response to meet the needs of unaccompanied high school students in the North Thurston Public School District and Tumwater School District. High school kids match them with families in Thurston County. So I would love to introduce our very special guests, Dave and Annette, who joined our Host Homes program back in June and are currently housing one of our students. Today, we're lucky enough to talk to people who are currently hosting and discuss what it's like to host a youth. So please welcome our special guests, Dave and Annette. Dave and Annette, I throw it to you guys. Would you mind introducing yourselves?
Yeah, so we have been married for about 28 years, almost at the end of December here. We have 3 biological kids, and when they were teenagers, we became foster parents for about 4.5 years, and we adopted 2 daughters from that. We also now have a grandson who just turned 2, so we're super, excited about him too. But yeah, we've always just really had a heart for helping youth, whether that was coaching our kids' soccer team or being on preschool boards or, whatever. And then, like I said, through foster care, we had a bunch of different kids in our house over the period of 4.5 years. And we saw this program and on a blip on Facebook from the Family Support Center of South Sound.
Yeah.
And just thought, wow, that's a really interesting idea. And I, like you were saying, I really like this approach to housing youth. And so that's kind of our story.
Amazing.
I don't really have much else to say. I like long walks on the beach. And listening to news.
Yeah. Playing board games with kids. I saw some of that action happening.
Yep, we like games.
Yeah. Well, I think it's incredible that you all have that open home approach, right? I mean, that's really awesome. And that you are together after this long and having that many kids to raise. Way to go.
Yeah, and still energy to raise more.
Yeah,
Pretty
totally.
incredible. Well, thank you both, obviously, for agreeing to be here. I was hoping that maybe you could share a little bit about your experience working with specifically Together's Host Home program. And for listeners out there, when families apply to our program, they go through a process of 2 interviews. They do a bunch of paperwork. They do orientation and training, which takes about 6 to 8 hours. They do a home safety inspection and then background clearances. So if you guys don't mind, tell me a little bit about your experience. Let's start with, from the moment you applied and that initial process of interviewing and training.
Well, it was, we did the foster care before, as Annette said. And so that training was a bit longer. So but it was nice to have the refresher to do this, because anytime you think you know something, you're probably in trouble. So it was good to have that, and it was good to see the support systems that are in place with Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it gave us a real opportunity because the program isn't huge like the foster care system.
Yeah.
It gave us a real opportunity to get to know Tammy and our other support person and, kind of develop that trust relationship with, hey, they're going to be there if something wacky happens that we need something, on a weekend or, it really made us feel comfortable. And then also just, like Dave was saying, we can have tools in our toolbox. It's always great to get the training, to get more tools in our toolbox and be exposed to more. This is the first time we've really had any kids that are LGBTQ plus. And so that was a whole, we have some in our family, so we have some experience with it, but at the same time, just getting a broader perspective on that and what that support looks like for that child and stuff. So it was a really good, really easy process. But also, like I said, really good to get some more training and get to know our support people.
Awesome.
Yeah, I will say from my perspective, it was super nice that you guys had already gone through that foster care training because it made it, I guess, a lot easier for me to go over that material with you because you'd already had that more intensely through being licensed. And we were able to get to know each other, like you said, and kind of understand like what areas you felt more comfortable with and what areas maybe you wanted a little bit more information on.
Yeah.
And being our first family, I think I probably told you too many times that you were, the first ones. There was going to be some, dips in the road, and just to be really honest about what your family's specific needs were and if there was anything that you felt were lacking. And I'm just very appreciative of your guys' communication style because you're very open and honest and pretty chill.
We try.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the next process after you went through all of that was the matching process. So can you tell us about the matching process and what it was like to be matched with the youth you are currently housing? And what type of support did the program give you during that transition?
Yeah. So I think at the time there was one student who was like fully ready to go into the program. And so, it wasn't like we were like going, oh, we want one that does this and likes board games. And like, it was more like they sent us kind of, the students sent us their perspective of who they were and what, they liked. And we just read through it, thought, oh, wow, this sounds great. And then we got to meet them ahead of time and, just make sure there weren't any obvious things on their side and our side that was like, ooh, I don't know if we can handle, their love of porcupines that much or whatever.
Porcupine media plug.
And then, one thing that I love about this that you don't get with foster care is the student wants to be there. Unfortunately, with foster care, kids are being forced to be somewhere else. And so to be able to sit down with them and, we mutually signed this contract, which is great because it gives us this big list of questions to go through. Like, this is how we would handle if you aren't doing your homework. This is how we would handle if, you broke one of the big rules or, and being able to sit down, reassure them that, even a mistake doesn't mean you're gone, and them to genuinely be able to see in our faces that, hey, you don't need to be walking on eggshells, and for them to be able to honestly communicate, I really can't handle people who are perky at 5 a.m. or, or just whatever it is. I think that whole process was really great compared to what we were used to. So, even with our own kids, you never know what you're going to get when they come out. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I love that tool as well because it also gives the youth the chance to voice something that they want, to be respected, like a boundary. And I'm thinking of your guys' example. It's such a small thing, but, knocking and waiting for an answer before you enter the youth's bedroom, it's something that's so simple and little, it gave the opportunity to open a bigger conversation from that. And I think what I said, to the youth and with you guys is this is, a living document. We can always come back and make adjustments and changes. And these aren't like hard and fast rules, like you said, that you're going to get booted out if this. It was more of a tool to open that communication when you're living with a stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let them know expectations.
Absolutely.
We expect homework to be done. We expect, this and that. And then when there's some discussion, some things are, there's some give and take, and some things are, this is not going to happen. And then we can have that conversation and set those expectations. So
Yeah.
less surprises.
Yeah, and just a great example of how having the extra support through the host home program as well as that contract. I mean, we recently had a situation where one of the rules was, one of the things we had talked about, the expectation was not evidently clear to both sides. And, so it was causing a little bit of friction, like nothing horrible, but I'm like, you know what, let's call Tammy, let's call Polly, and let's all sit down together and just, maybe Dave and I are setting our expectation, too strictly or whatever, or maybe we, let's just work together. And so having the support to do that, and then also just that safe space, because the student knows that, the support people are safe and we're all just talking together. And I think it's just a really unique thing to be able to do.
Yeah. It is, and super cool. And I love what you talked about at the beginning, that really that difference of youth agency, right? Is that youth are really choosing to enter that relationship with you all and with our staff and with the program and the agency. And I think that just changes the game, right? Like everybody's there, including youth, to have an experience that's going to be supportive and enriching, right? And have them housed. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think what we see too, it's starting to give them those tools for that next step as well, right? Because when they're choosing to be in this program and agreeing to these various things of, unique rules or expectations, it's just, a baby step towards that independent living where they're going to have to negotiate those same things with somebody else later on. So it's nice to see. And, specifically, I think with the youth that is housed with you guys, lucky enough is a pretty good communicator, I would say. But it's been pretty cool just to see them open to the process as well, and not shutting down, but really understanding that they have a say and their voice is heard.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys, what do you think potential hosts out there should know? I think for me, I talk a lot about the program on this macro level, but it's such a unique experience to have folks that are actually living this experience and housing a youth. What are maybe some of the day-to-day things or, challenges or, things that you've identified that you would love folks to know out there?
Well, I think there's two levels that I think of. Is the kind of practical level. Okay, is busing taken care of? Is homework being done? Are they eating and eating enough and not just ice cream? And that part is sometimes frustrating, but I think is easier. You just have to kind of be on top of it and manage that. And Annette's a good organizer, so she keeps the household running with that. The thing that I think is a little harder for me personally is expectations. Because like I said, if you think you know what you're doing, you're going to have troubles. So we've adopted two kids, and I was thinking, oh, this person will come in, they'll be part of our family, it'll be great. What can go wrong? We know what we're doing. But I'm an idiot. And the kid we have is great. There's no problem with that. But what I should have told myself is this is going to take time. Yeah, they're slowly being able to feel like they're part of the family instead of just at a weird hotel. Because people coming into this kind of program come in because they've been dealt a bad hand. And so they got to know that they can trust, and we have to make sure that we're, consistent and loving. Was what we all strive to do. And so that was for me just a kind of like, what am I thinking? So
On top of them being teenagers,
Yes.
and already,
anytime-
prone to want to be locked in their room.
if anyone listening has their own teenagers,
Yes.
at the best of circumstances, they are crazy. And that's okay, as long as they're being crazy within the right limits and you're talking to them and you've had them since they were born.
Yeah.
And if they're still acting like crazy people or acting up, you can expect that someone new is going to have a learning period, a kind of get to know you type of period too. And it has been great. It hasn't been bad at all. It's just managing those internal expectations.
Yeah, the patience, right? Because like you said, it's that building that trust takes time and the consistency day to day, and it just doesn't happen overnight. But I think that, I don't know, how do you guys feel like time-wise you felt like the youth in your home started to understand your family culture and was feeling a little bit more at ease?
I think there was some ease right off the bat, but I still see process.
Yeah.
We just went through Thanksgiving. We're getting ready to do, Christmas. And so it's trying to, ask them about what have you done before that you really still want to do, or bringing their culture into it. And I think, like Dave was saying, these students have been dealt not the greatest hand in life. And so with a lot of them, even when we were doing foster care, and even with the student we have now, you ask them, what do you like? And that is a question that just boggles their minds. Like we've seen it across the board. Like, I'm allowed to like something, I'm allowed to have that freedom. And so, when I think for me, the back to kind of like the original question, the thing that I would kind of tell people is you got to be flexible. You got to be willing to be flexible, because, these kids are coming from a very fight or flight, restrictive, oftentimes, little tiny box that they've been hiding in or kept in. And all of a sudden they're given some space, and, they may have come in thinking, oh, I really, really like Minecraft. And then all of a sudden they're like, now that I have the opportunity to just watch a show on TV, I kind of just want to do that, or, the way they dress. It's like, it was the easiest shopping experience I've ever had in my life, taking this student shopping. It took all of 15 minutes, and I'm like, I don't know if that'll ever happen again. But then at the same regard, I'm like, what do you want for Christmas? And it's like, I want gift certificates to these specific stores so I can go buy things that I really like. Because all of a sudden they're like, I might actually be able to wear these things, so it's just watching, it's just being flexible, and just, you never know what you're going to get day to day. Like I said, they can change their mind, and that's okay, because it's part of growing up as a teenager, but it's also even a bigger part as they're expanding what they're allowed to do and can do, and giving the freedom to do and become,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think this directly relates to your question, but an important part is to have a support system.
Yes.
Annette and I support each other. Usually when one of us is like, okay, I'm really pissed off right now, they want to like, okay, it's not personal, just, kind of balance each other out. So if you go into this with a partner, it helps. If you go into this single, that's okay, but just have someone you can bounce ideas off of, and even just vent is sometimes okay.
Absolutely. I have seen that in you guys too, and I've been very impressed. They have a very healthy relationship, I would say. You guys take time to do date nights and give yourselves that time away and breaks, which every parent needs. And it's obviously those rules still apply when you take in a student. You have to take those breaks. And I think your advice of being flexible, I couldn't have said that better. It's if you go in with this expectation that you're going to drop this kiddo into your family and they're just going to fit perfectly into your structure, it's probably not going to be successful.
Right.
It'll be rough at least.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
I will say our grandson has been the best icebreaker
Oh,
bonding with the family. Like,
I mean,
Of course.
he is so
loves our
cute.
student, and our student loves him, and it's
Yeah, if we want to spend the rest of the time talking about him, then
yeah.
You'd be okay
Oh
with
my
that.
gosh, he
Yeah.
has
At
been the
pictures
star of
Yeah, I
every
can
video call that we've had, and
Yeah. We'll put on some background music
Yeah.
and just show pictures of the grandchild.
he is a star. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
I love it. Well, and I love that you said that other kids in the home, like, are icebreaker, or, the students who come in, or the kids who come into your home, build relationships between each other and then with you all, right? And the whole family unit, which I think is amazing and enriching and exciting. My family has not hosted youth, but had other youth live with us, and over the years, and my kids have bonded with them and their siblings, and it's the best to see that in how both your kid grows by having, a strong relationship with somebody who's not part of their family, but also you get to see this amazing part of the other youth, right?
Yeah.
See them care for and build a relationship with their, little nephew, or
Yeah.
whoever it is.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've found with our kids doing foster care, they become more empathetic and
Yeah.
open to other ideas and seeing just different perspectives.
Yeah.
So that's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we started out we have 3 biological sons, and we ended up adopting 2 daughters. And I was actually just talking to one of my sons today, and he said, he goes, if we wouldn't have had the girls, he goes, because for some reason, almost every foster child we got was a girl.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even start it,
That's so
it just happened that way. But he goes, if we hadn't started getting the girls, he goes, I would have just missed out on so many things and not realized all the pressures on girls these days. And, so it really, and we always said from the beginning, we're a foster family. It's not foster parents, we're a foster family.
Yeah.
It's all
I
of us
love
in this
that.
together.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love it. So I have a question. So in our last Host Homes podcast episode, we talked a lot about how Black and Indigenous and other students of color and LGBTQ plus students are overrepresented in the unaccompanied youth and houseless youth population nationally, and then it rings true in our own community. Can you share why it is so important to understand youth who belong to these communities, and how to create a safe environment for them to represent their true selves and be their true selves?
I have to say, when, because we saw the questions ahead of time, and when this one came up, there was that little idealistic part of me that said, and please don't misunderstand me, I totally get the need to talk about it, but at the same time, I'm like, why does this have to be a thing? Because I'm like, why can't we just treat people like people? Why can't all kids be loved in their homes? Why can't they be accepted wherever they're at, And so I felt like I had to kind of back away from it, because it was sort of like triggering me, to be honest. And because I feel like, you just see it too much. It's just so sad, and you see it too much. And so I went to all of our kids that, are either LGBTQ plus or BIPOC. And I went and I'm like, okay, I talk, just what's your answer to this? And, their answers were very simple. Just like, the safe space to me just looks like listening, taking the time to listen and understand, and to validate my story. One of them shared about the different physical bullying they received, or just walking down the street and people yelling stuff at them, after they put their true self out there. And I just was, my heart breaks, for them. And so just being able to listen to them and validate and go, yeah, that sucked, and that's not okay. And reassuring them that in our space, you're safe to be whoever, and it's just, I guess the importance of it is it seems like so many people out there don't want to hear the stories and they don't want to validate the stories. You know, I mean, maybe the person who's African American that you know hasn't had those kind of experiences, but there's a lot of other people that have. And so, you know, you just need to validate the individual and love the individual where they're at. And I don't know, like, I honestly, I go round and round, and I think I could probably ramble about this because it breaks my heart and I don't understand it. Because we've always just loved everybody and accepted everybody. But I don't know. You talk.
I agree. I mean, we should treat everyone equally. That would be a nice thing to do. But it's important to understand that what everyone's been through, what everyone goes through, is different than what we go through. You know, people of color have very different experiences than I would for the same circumstances. To go memory lane a little bit, in my early 20s, I had a friend that was gay, and a couple times he tried to tell me, but he couldn't. He was too scared to.
Yeah.
And I was too socially inept or not mature enough to encourage that. And it really hit me thinking about it afterwards. One, I want to be the type of person that I can be trusted. But two, more importantly, is the pressure that he was feeling. I was one of his best friends. He had trouble telling me about this because he was afraid of judgment. And he obviously hadn't told his family either. So that's something I never had to deal with, and that's something that other people might have, that kind of fear of being rejected. It's hard enough being a teenager. Even if you fit in every single box, things are difficult because you never feel like you fit in, hardly, most folks. But then if you have something that makes you feel different, makes you feel like you're not normal, maybe, or you look different or feel different, that's a huge pressure.
We talked about in the last episode how when you have to hide this part of who you are, and for these youth especially, like you said, going through all of the other additional pressures of life and trying to figure out who you are at that age, when you don't have a safe space where we all want home to be this sanctuary where we can relax, take off the different masks, you know, the different hats that we wear throughout the day, and hopefully have some relief. You know, our nervous systems need that. But for those students who never get that opportunity, you know, that's something that, like you were saying, like not everyone understands that experience. And for us to have homes that are welcoming and encouraging for these students to be their true selves and be able to relax so that they can have that time every day where they can just be themselves. It's just so invaluable.
Yeah. Or, you know, seen and heard for the differences that are valued in your home. I mean, you said, like, what are your traditions? You know, like, what is your culture around Christmas, right? Or the holiday season? And even feeling that you're being seen for having a culture, right? And bringing that to the table in the home is, you know, validating and important, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So, Tammy, you have the next question. I'm not going to take it from you. I got it. I got ahead of myself.
This is a good one too. You know, what do you guys feel like you get out of being able to host a student in your home? You know, are there things that you can identify that are positives, benefits, like that are, you know, building up your family by having a student? I guess we kind of touched base on that a little bit, but.
Do you want to start?
No, go ahead.
I like helping people. We like helping people as a family. So it feels good to do that. So there's the immediate gratification of doing that. Raising kids maybe isn't every day a gratification, but it generally is. And you feel good knowing you've done some good in the world. If I think about, Annette said with one of our sons saying that, if we hadn't have done foster care and had the girls, they would have missed out on so much. And I think back of, anything I've done good in my life, I think back to helping those kids. And larger, a little more philosophical, anything we want to do for a legacy is going to disappear. I could be the greatest guitar player, which would be awesome, or a great author, great literary mind, but people are going to forget about that. And the things I do for these kids, no one's going to care about in 10, 20 years. But what will matter is that because we have invested into a life and we have made that life better, that's going to make a change in the world. And then they're going to make, instead of growing up dysfunctional, and if they have kids and being dysfunctional, then they have a chance to have a good life, and then the kids have a better chance to have a good life. And that's, I think, a pretty solid thing to leave to the world.
Absolutely.
I think, I've loved being challenged. The first two kids that ever came into our home were African American, and I had to figure out hair care. And because it's important, even with each individual kid, it's like, there's different things that are important to them, whether it's like their culture or, friends or, different things that I need to learn about and grow from and be challenged by. I think it sounds weird, but I like finding my rough edges and getting them filed off, and when you invite a youth into your home, you're going to hit those rough edges. You're going to be like, ooh, I didn't realize that was triggering for me. Yeah. Okay, I need to, think through that. How am I going to be a better human being in these situations down the road? But then also too, like, especially with the student we have now, they do come from a different culture, and they have a strong connection to that culture. And we've gotten some really good food out of it because they have found some things they really like to cook. But also just learning a lot about it. And I think for me, like, I love getting to know people in general. And I feel like, every person I meet teaches me something or has the potential to. And so, the student we have now, their spunk is just challenging for me. Like, from the time they wake up in the morning, they are at a high decibel level, which we had to talk about a little bit because, we have some kids that sleep in for work, but just that zest or whatever you want to call it, I'm like, okay, I'm living my life at a pretty mellow keel here. I need to get a little, zip in there. Or, just even how you react to like different things that, you're like, oh, that's an interesting song you're playing with some interesting words in there. Okay. But I don't know. Like I said, I love learning and growing from them, and just being, like I said, being challenged by it. Like every day there's something with either them or other kids that it's like, okay, I might need to shift my perspective, or I might need to get out of my old Fogieville on that one. Or
old Fogieville. I love it.
So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I've gotten out of it.
Yeah.
So.
That's so cool. So you touch a little bit on the culture piece. Did you guys do something for the recent holiday to bring in some of that?
Well, so about 6 years ago, we came to the realization that out of all of our kids, there was no part of a traditional American Thanksgiving dinner that they liked. Except the rolls. They could all agree on the rolls.
Wait.
Yeah.
The bread is pretty good.
That was the only thing. And so we always had a ton of leftovers, and Dave's trying to chuck them all down so they don't get thrown away. And I'm like, we need to do something different. So we started a tradition where each person in the family picks a different country and they pick a dish from that country and then they help cook that dish. And I usually pick 3 desserts. That's my thing. But yeah, so we end up having, 7, 8 different countries, depending on how many kids are home for the holiday. And so, yeah, that was actually really great because our student was able to be like, oh, I got this one, you know, and, they're hitting up their auntie on their phone, like, okay, I need the recipe for this, and so yeah, that was really fun the way
That's
that
awesome.
incorporated in there.
That's so incredible. I want to do that now. I might
that cool?
steal Dave and Annette's
and then
idea.
once you pick a country, you can't pick it again.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, we keep track.
Whoa,
You
So,
can't get
neat.
pizza every year from Italy.
Oh, dang it.
yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what my husband would do. Yes, Jason, I just called you out. Yeah. Amazing. So, what would you tell people who are thinking about becoming hosts but are apprehensive about starting? I feel like you just told them a whole bunch of ways the enrichment would happen. But if you could tell somebody who's like really like, oh, I don't know about that, what would you tell them?
I have lots of thoughts on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
But they're simple. One, Together is a great resource. A lot of support. I kind of wish we had them for our kids growing up. That would have been very handy. And it is, if you're apprehensive, it's normal to be apprehensive. It would be ridiculous not to have at least some apprehension.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because it's a new person. It's like even if you had a relative living with you for a while, it might,
Yeah.
be nervous about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is better. So it's okay to be apprehensive. Together gives you a lot of support. And if you're thinking about it, do it. If
Love
you,
it.
if you
Yes,
don't,
Dave.
who's going to do it? Unfortunately,
Yeah. That's right.
and it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
It's you have days where it's you feel like you're going to pull your hair out, but then you talk to your support person and or you talk to Together folks and they can kind of give you some strategies, and it'll be okay.
I think it's something we ran into a lot of when we did foster care, and I think it probably rings true with this program too. When people are thinking about it, is we would get a lot of people that say, "Oh, but if I don't know if I could watch them leave, or I don't know if I it'd hurt my heart if something went wrong, or or I just flat out can't do it because that kind of thing." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're the people we need, You're the ones that are going to care enough. You're going to provide that environment where they know they're loved, they're cared for, they're safe. And so you really need to be the people doing this. We don't want the people, not Together doesn't give you a paycheck, so I don't mean it this way, but with foster care, they say, oh, there are people just doing it for the paycheck, which I never understood because you don't make money. But anyway, we don't need the people that are doing it for all these weird reasons. We need the people that are just really care, and also, I think sometimes people used to look at us and go, oh, you guys are like superhuman. We're like, no, you ask our children, we're not, we're normal everyday folks. And we just don't like saying no to kids in need, and we're like, if there's a kid out there that needs something, we want to do what we can to support that. And so echo what Dave said, if you're thinking about do it. Start the process
Yes.
even. I like that too. You can start the process. If you get to the end and you're like, I don't think this works for us at this moment. Okay. But you've started the process and probably along the way, you've told 5 of your friends that you're doing this process. And so they're going to tell 5 of their friends and,
Exactly.
that's how these kids get housed and find, support systems. And
Yeah, they're good kids. They're not in the system because they've done bad things. They just had bad things happen to them. They've got kicked out because, parents can't take care of them because of whatever reasons, or parents just disagreed with where the kid's at.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, but
Yep. It happens.
yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. So, Tammy, I'm going to ask you the last. Well, actually, I lie. I'm going to throw in a kicker at the end that didn't make it on the sheet.
All right.
But my question to you, Tammy, is how can people best support our program?
Be a host.
Be a
Be
host.
a host. But if you're not quite there yet, like Dave and Annette said, talk about it. Talk about our program, because the more that I'm out in the community and the more people hear about it, they become really open to it, or they know somebody within their network that should know about it. So follow us on social media, check out our events that come up, attend an info meeting, or just call. Honestly, you don't even have to wait for an info meeting.
Yeah.
I'm available. I want to talk to you. It's a wonderful program, and
nice.
we need support. And these guys have been giving me a lot of positive feedback. So
Yes, Tammy is the best, and Tammy will tell you all about it. So give a call to Together. One thing I'll say too is the thing I say to people who ask about it is, there's a lot of talk about homelessness in our community, right? A lot. And what we're going to do and how we're going to change, right? And this is a really tangible way to intervene at a time to give kids stability, to stop the likelihood of being chronically homeless as an adult, right?
Yep.
Every day that a kid is in a safe, supportive environment, in a home, we are giving them a better chance to be housed as an adult, right? I mean, it's in the data, it's, so this is a way to, prevent the later things of homelessness that we're arguing about all the time and what we're going to do, right? And that when people are very fired up about houselessness and homelessness, we forget to think about these kids, right? We forget that there are kids that are going to school every day and they're couch surfing, or they're living in a car, right? They're at this friend's house for a week, and then they're going to maybe go to this other house, or they're in and out of a hotel, right? And there is sometimes the hidden part of homelessness. But when we really start to talk about these youth, we have a way to intervene. And we as adults who have the space, the love in our heart, the ability to take some risk and mess up a little bit, pull our hair out some days, it's a way to intervene and to be a part of the solution instead of just the talking about it. And I'm so proud that Together took the leap to do it, and that Tammy came on board, and that we've had staff before build the program. So, and our first hosts. We didn't know who you would be, but man, we couldn't have
I know.
manifested a better host family. So thanks for being the advocates. So I'm going to say our last question, because we ask it at every podcast, which is, what does building community as an act of resistance mean to you? Building community as an act of resistance is our catchphrase for the podcast, and building community is important to Together. It's one of our values is community. So what does it mean to y'all when I say that? Building community is an act of resistance.
I was actually just thinking about that before you asked the question, because I had heard that on a different podcast. But in my head, it was building community as an act of rebellion, not resistance.
Oh, rebellion works.
But I was thinking, a lot of times you think of rebellion, resistance, it's against, you usually hear it against government entities, and so many people, like you said, we're waiting for government to do something about homelessness. We're waiting for government to, stop spending so much on these support programs, or, there's always something that we're sort of complaining about. But when we're building communities like this with Together, then we're resisting by taking it into our own hands and doing what needs to be done. I mean, and which is the best act of resistance, rebellion, whatever, you want to call it. It's let's see the problem. When we come together as a community, let's just do our little part to help fix the problem. Yeah. And I totally agree. I have so many people that are talking about the homelessness situation. I'm like, doing this, you're preventing it. Let's stop talking about, we need to deal with what's in front of us, but can we get to the preventative stage? Yeah. And if we're giving these kids the support now, how much are we preventing in the future? Yeah. And who knows what these kids are going to go on to do, because they've lived this life of where they've developed such empathy because of what they've been through. I mean, I can only imagine the things that they can go on to do and the people that they can support and reach out to that we probably wouldn't meet on a daily basis, you know? And it's, yeah, I don't know. That's my thoughts.
I love
wasn't
that.
prepared for your zinger question.
A zinger. Zing.
So I think as an act of rebellion, or whatever you want to call it, it's very few of us, certainly not myself, can just, okay, I'm gonna end homelessness. I'm gonna end the drug epidemic or mental health epidemic. I'm just gonna stop it because I got the means to do so. But what we can do is make a difference where we're at. You can do Together program. You can volunteer at a food bank. You can do 1,000 other things that aren't easy to do, maybe inconvenient, but sometimes. But helping out rarely is convenient. Doing the right thing rarely is. But it's not hard either. I don't know what that has to do with rebellion, but I think it's rebellion against things going wrong, against chaos, against the status quo, making things better.
Yeah,
I like that.
Absolutely.
Well, and you all are building a community, right? I mean, your family is your community,
We
right?
have 1,000 kids, so yeah.
Yeah.
it's a whole community.
Yeah, you have a whole community of kids, and it is an act of resistance. It's an act of resistance of, you know, of what we see as family, right? And how you really have opened your homes and your heart. Yeah, thank you for doing it. So, is there anything else anybody wants to say before I wrap it up? We told you it would go quick. No.
I heard there was donuts. There's not.
Usually there's coffee, but you know, this time it's kind of late for coffee. We'd all be up until the wee hours. So I just want to thank you both again for hosting, for being the first host, for being giving us great feedback in the process, and also for being here. You did a commercial. Look for them on the Host Homes commercial. And just for being all around just awesome. You know, because it has been rocky. I mean, shoot, it's been rocky, but you guys have stuck with it. And thanks for knowing that it was going to be a little hairy sometimes. And thanks to everybody who's listening and still sticking with us through our first episodes in our first season. And I also want to give a special thanks to OliFed, who is our sponsor for all of our Host Homes episodes. So thank you for contributing to this program and to us talking about the program. You know, we need everybody. We need to build this community of support for our kids. And yeah, keep listening. We have more fun episodes to come. And with that, I will say goodbye, everyone.